Hello everybody, today we'll be doing an integration by parts problem, and this one is very difficult. I'm going to get right into it. Integrating e to the power of 6 theta multiplied by sine 7 theta with respect to theta. Wonderful. D theta. I mean, I don't really care about adding in d theta, but technically it's the correct thing to do. If you're on a test or an exam, it's good to have. Okay. So, first things first, what we look at this problem, what we notice is we need to use integration by parts. It must happen because this is a product. It's testing for a product. So, our formula for integration by parts, I'll write it down. A lot of people use v, du, uv, or whatever. Instead of v's and u's, I do f of x and g of x because my handwriting is so bad. I can't distinguish between v's and d's and u's or whatever. I just can't read it, so I gotta do f of x and g of x, so it'll look a little different, but it's the exact same thing. Here we go. Wonderful. So, all this is saying is that our original integral here, which is what we're working with, is equal to f of x g of x minus the integral of f prime of x g of x, and I'll explain what that means. So when we're looking at this problem, we have to choose what do we want to be the derivative, because it will be easier to integrate back into its original form. Or I'm sorry, it'll be easier to integrate that way. And which one will be standard, because when we look at this problem, or this part of the equation, we don't really have to integrate this one. We just drag that right over. Easier if I use a different color. We just drag this over. I'll show you what that means. If none of this makes sense so far, that's perfectly fine. I'll walk you through it. We're just and if you already know how to integrate by parts, and you just have a problem with this one, like, not a specific question, but you'll see what I mean. This is not your everyday integration by parts problem, as integration by parts is hard enough. This is going to stand out a little more, and I'll tell you why. And you'll definitely see why if you stick around. So what we're going to do here is apply the formula to the problem. Okay, excellent. So this is all equal to, you know what, we'll use blue. Makes things a little easier on the eyes. Alright, now before we go any further, if we go back, we need to choose, what do we want to be g prime of x? Technically, you could choose whichever one you want to. Technically, if you could do the math correctly, it'll work, but it will be much easier than, if you choose one using, there's like the Lipitz or some acronym or something, it'll be much easier. Today I'll be using sine 7 theta as g prime of x. So if we look at the very front of our equation, since this is f of x already, we're declaring this is f of x. Let me go back a little bit. We don't have to change that. We already have half of it. E to the 6 theta. E to the 6 theta. Ooh, that handwriting is not good. Let me give me some space. E to the 6 theta. Now, integrate, since this is g prime of x, we declare this to be g prime of x as per our formula here. We need to find g of x, and all that means is we're integrating sine 7 theta. So that is equal to negative cosine 7 theta divided by 7, because we're going to be using u substitution. So what I just noticed, not a big deal, I need more room. Let me move this over real quick. Okay, wonderful. So now we must look at the other part of our equation here. I think it's good if I use a different color. We'll just separate it completely by color. That'd be a lot better. So, move to my brush, subtract, integral, whoops, there we are, integral of f prime of x times g of x. So this is g of x, as we found it by integrating g prime of x, which we declared it to be sine 7 theta. So, we write here, times, by the way, never mind. I forget I said anything. Okay, times f prime of x. This is f of x, so derive it. E to the 6th theta derivative is equal to 6e to the 6th theta times 6e to the 6th theta d theta. So this is why it's very difficult. So in a standard integration by parts, we would probably be done by now. I mean, no, we'd have to integrate this, obviously, and that's why we're being held back. Theoretically, in a standard integration by parts problem, you wouldn't be hit with another integration by parts, is what I'm saying. This would be a little bit easier. You just integrate this, and then you're done. Not what's going on here. We have to use integration by parts a second time, and that's what makes this so hard. Okay, I'm back, guys. And I have the formula here. Just so I could save space by not having the formula written down on my thing, I'll just move this in and out, but it's the exact same. Again, we have u's and v's here. It's the same thing as like f of x, g of x. It's just my u's and my v's look the exact same. So I'm using f of x, g of x, but again, it's the same thing. Just arbitrary variables, I guess. Cool. So now what we have to do, move this to the side, we have to kind of take this out and apply integration by parts on this guy. And that's what kind of makes this tricky. But when you solve this, it's very satisfying. So that's what's delicious about this. So again, choose a g prime of x, choose an f of x. You must choose wisely, as this will make life a lot easier or harder, depending on what you're doing. Or a v or a v du, or I'm sorry, v or a du, or like whatever it is. Again, I'm like, it's the exact same thing. I'm just not familiar with saying v du. I just do f of x, g of x. Again, same thing. Whatever you're used to, feel free to do it. I just do this because my handwriting is really not that good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the trigonometric function to be our g prime of x. So if we look back at our equation sheet here, same thing we did last time. We need to integrate our g prime of x, and then we already have our f of x here. So let's go integrate negative cosine 7 theta, which would be negative sine 7 theta divided by 49. Then we multiply by f of x, which is 6e 6 theta. Next, I'm going to switch to another color. Red. Okay, very good. Minus integral. This isn't so bad. F prime of x, g of x. Again, we have our g of x here. So we're just doing this. That's not so bad. We're just doing this. Negative sine 7 theta 49. And by the way, I ran out of space again. Oh, I could just do that. Okay, it's much more simple. But I was going to say, by the way, if this is a little confusing, I'm going to do a huge recap at the end and go everything very slowly. And I'll probably write steps down. But it's not so bad when you get the hang of it. And I'll tell you again, I'll reinforce why this stands out from an original, or I'd say a standard integration by parts problem. Anyways, so g of x times, or in this case v times du, this is u, derivative of u, du, is 36e 6 theta d theta. Okay, so here's what's special. We substitute this in. This, which we brought down here, exact same thing, we brought it down here, is equal to all this. So we take all of this and we substitute it in. And I'll show you why this is going to be OP as freak, dude. Just wait. So all I did was I took this, which we calculated before, moved it up here into the equation. So I substituted all that with this, or this with all that. So we have what we have before in the original integration by parts problem, and we substituted the other integration by parts, which we had to do for this, into the original equation, since they're equivalent, which is what we found. This was our original problem. Oh, geez. Now, let me save some room. Very simple. All we have to do, I want to know. Guys, pause the video. Okay, what's the relationship here? Why is what we did so important? Oh, you know what? Let me put a parentheses in the back. Well, I gave you enough time. All you have to do is this. You can see the relationship between these two. Algebra. That's right. Let's distribute this negative sign before we forget. So, distribute the negative sign plus sine 7 theta divided by 49 times 6e to the 6 theta. Well, then we can take this negative sign out, put it in, makes it plus, and then this negative sign makes the entire integral negative. So minus integral sine 7 theta for 49 times 36e, the 6 theta. And that's all equal to this. What I'm going to do next, I'm just going to take this constant out of the integrand, 36 over 49. Makes things a little more simple. Where's my eraser? This is a little slow. Can I get a bigger eraser? It's a little bit bigger. It's not so bad. Okay, 36 over 49. I'll put it in red. 36, 49. Whoops. 49. We'll make that negative. Okay. All right. So all we do is we use our algebra skills to add this to this. And as you can see, since we took this constant out, it's the exact same thing inside of the integrand. Sine 7 theta times e to the 6 theta. Except, oh, d theta. So, what that leaves us with, 36 plus 49, which is 85. So it's 85 over 49. Let me go back to brush. We'll go green. And this is equal to 85 over 49 e to the 6 theta sine 7 theta d theta. And again, it's because we added the integral that we got from our second integration by parts problem, which is all substituted into the original one. And I'll go over everything again, don't worry if this is too much to take in at once. And also, please rewind and go back and go back and go back. Watch this video 5 times if you have to. Because all the answers, all the keys to the secret knowledge is all in this, trust me. I would recommend doing problems on your own. When we took out the constant, we found out the integrand was the exact same as this bad boy. So you just added it. You just moved it over to the other side. So now we have this mess, which is equal to 85/49 of our original integral. Now to make it back to our original integral, we have to multiply it by 49 over 85. I'll put the constant in red again. 49 over 85. Boom. And that's your answer right there. So let me circle it. That went right off the page, didn't it? Okay. Whoops. equals. All right, boom. Integral, our original integral, which our original integral here. Boom. That is equal to this mess here. And this mess is not so much of a mess when you understand how it was found. We used integration by parts the first time. And then in the integration by parts, let me go to the formula once more. And in the integration by parts formula, which would be this part here, we had to use integration by parts again. So our integration by parts again was equal to fx gx g of x minus another integral f prime of x g of x. And we moved this and substituted with, took this out and substituted that with this. So then it was uv from the original integration by parts minus what we got from the second integration by parts. And then we took this, let me erase these lines here, and we took this here, we took the coefficient or the constant out of the integrand, found out it was the exact same as this, and we used our algebra to move it to the other side, and then we were met with it was some constant. It was 85 over 49th. 85 49ths of the original integral was equal to all this. So then we just multiply it by 49 over 85, got rid of that. We got our original integral, and we also got our answer. I'll show you if you put it into a calculator. For example, I just used this stuff. Oh, you know what? Here's the right window. So if you put into a calculator, like depending on which ones you use, like if you use MathWay for an example, it will use a different, because we used sine 7 theta as our g prime of x. It'll use like this as the g prime of x. Not all of them will do that, but some will. And you'll get our first function here. What we got here is this. Let me double check. So I did do this the first time. Yep. Yep, that's correct. We got it, boys. When I was helping out my friend, which this video is made for, and the first time I messed up because for some reason there was a negative sign on in there. I felt super bad about it, but I got it on my first try this time, so that was a fluke, or at least I would hope so. And obviously, since these overlap, they're equivalent. So, I hope this video was helpful for you. And have a nice day. And good luck on your future math. And also, do many of these problems. Because it's a lot to take in at first, but especially with my handwriting. But practice makes perfect. Goodbye.